We're one of the older fire departments in the Northeast. A lot of departments haven't gotten to that point yet. So back in the day, when you're talking the 1800s, early 1900s, it was continuous duty. They didn't have any days off per se. The firefighters would get meal breaks every day, and then on occasion they would have a day off. But they basically were in the firehouse 24/7. Most of the firefighters back in the day would live near the fire stations because they could walk home. They'd walk home for meal breaks. They'd walk home for visits. They'd walk, so they were close to their family. I'm sure the families would stop over. It wasn't like you would live, 30 miles away from where you worked. It was totally different. There were no vehicles. Your transportation would be trolley or, later on buses. In the old rosters, we can see most of them lived in that general neighborhood. As time evolved and the change in working conditions, they came up with 24-hour shifts, and there are 2 shifts, so they work 1 on, 1 off. And then they went to the 3 shifts and 1 on, 2 off. And then in the 70s, early 70s, they went to 4 shifts, which we have today, a 1 day on, 3 days off. 150 years ago, the fire apparatus were pulled by horses. The firefighters ran alongside. They used to have call boxes on not every street corner, but a lot of the street corners. If there was a fire, somebody needed the fire department, they would go to the nearest call box. They'd pull the handle, and it would transmit a signal to the dispatchers and the operators and central fire station, and they'd know where to send the fire apparatus, and they would respond over there, and they'd basically go in blind, and they wouldn't know anything until they got there. Everything was rudimentary, very little safety equipment. They had no respiratory protection. They'd suck in the smoke, and that's what they call the smoke eaters. As time evolved and technology changed, they were able to develop the first self-contained breathing apparatus, and those were introduced in the late 40s, and that was a game changer because they could actually put on a tank of air and go into the building and get deeper and further in, stay in longer, and obviously improve their health. The smoke was cleaner then because everything was made out of natural fibers. So your couches, your home furnishings were wood, and they weren't coated in chemicals and everything, the synthetics we have to deal with today. So while the smoke was a challenge, it wasn't anything like it is today. It's a total different smoke. The big change has been the advent of smoke detectors and early response. So we get notified a lot quicker now, either through automatic fire alarms or people calling in saying their smoke detectors are going off, before that fire becomes an actual heavily involved working fire. The firefighters back in the 1800s, early 1900s, and up to today, they were very successful. They had amazingly fast response times. They were super aggressive. They really got in there and they actually just, put the fires out. There are some times where you're going to lose the building no matter what. It's too far gone by the time you get there. Doing this with research and stuff, there's so many buildings that we have today that are still there that have had major fires in them, and they were saved by the efforts of the firefighters. So in the 1800s, the department was obviously operating apparatus with horse-drawn apparatus. In the mid-1900s, they bought a motorized fire chief's car. By 1915, they started buying motorized fire apparatus and phased out the horses. By 1917, the entire department, 10 engine companies, 4 truck companies, and all the chief's cars were fully motorized and the horses were gone. And we were one of the first departments in the country to be fully motorized. The union at the time and a lot of the firefighters themselves, they wanted to start getting into the EMS delivery system. It was happening out west, and they wanted to bring it here, and they did. They raised the funds for it. It was basically a grassroots effort started by the firefighters themselves. Through the union, they did fundraisers. They bought the equipment. They went to Mayor Palinga. He gave it the green light. They started going on calls. I think November 12, 1980 was the first call for EMS service, and we're doing over 12,000 EMS calls a year. There's 3 ambulances every day, 24/7 on duty that respond to EMS calls.
We're down here on Bleecker Street. This is Central Firehouse, standing in front of Engine 11. This is the historical restoration we have here, used in parades, a lot of different photos when people retire. We're here today because this year marks the 150th anniversary of Utica's professional fire department. Whether I'm looking through the historical books that were created for the 100th anniversary and now the most recent, the 150th, what rings true is the character and personality of Utica Fire, which has been to serve all the constituents in Utica and to be proud that they're there when people need them. We're standing here doing this interview, talking about 150 years, and a call just came in. Guys run out, they jump on a rig, and they're going out to actually help somebody who is in need. The personality and character of the actual firemen that make up this department, it's more than just a brotherhood or a sisterhood. It's a long-standing thread that goes back 150 years, and you can even see it in the faces of the firemen in those books, in those pictures from 150 years ago to now. You could see it's that same personality that's going to run into a burning building and save somebody.
You really have to want this. It has to be something that you want to do, and you have to realize all the risks involved. You don't think about it every day, obviously, but it's there. People get hurt, people can get killed. We've had a lot of, serious injuries over the years. We've had 7 line of duty deaths while firefighting. The Utica Fire Department provides an outstanding level of service to the citizens. For firefighting, we're one of the most aggressive fire departments in the country. We have been and we will continue to be top-notch, second to none.
After 150 years, I want to say congratulations. Congratulations to everyone who's made this department everything it's been and everything it will be for the next 150 years to come.